Okay, and we're back. And now we are going to work on the mobile effect. A mobile effect is pretty much uh, it's like a state-based system. It controls the way abilities work and whether they have like dots or pulses or single actions or they're stackable buffs or all kinds of stuff. Right? Most of your weapon abilities, buffs, some spell effects, and things like that are all mobile effects. You'll learn a lot about mobile effects and learn to use a lot of them, and that's why I'm trying to implement at least the basics of learning how to modify one and or create a new one. And so in this case, it requires just a little bit of extra effort because we need to, in the case of making this function here, just to make the explanation easier, sorry, this is not this function, but this table, is that it's already included into the globals. This is a global file. Anything I write here will be in the global code, and I can access it by typing in weapon abilities data dot super overpower dot mobile effect. I can get the string value right here, right? So you see how that works. So what this does is that the mobile effect, when it fires, it also passes these mobile effect arcs. And you'll see that up here, this one has target mobile effect. So this mobile effect here for the Sunder, this one is a general effect. Its mobile effect args is a duration variable and a visual effect and a sound effect. So what happens here is that this plays on whoever activates Sunder, usually the player, right? And then the player will have this stuff affect the player. Where the target, whatever you're hitting, will affect the target, and it'll put the Sunder mobile effect on that target. And as you can see, there is no target mobile effect args being passed to Sunder, but you could create your own arguments that you'd want to pass. That way you can easily modify it in this table, and then you don't have to go to the actual script table, is how this kind of works, right? It's kind of like a two-layer system. So with that stated, and you kind of see, what the purpose of these are just to get the icon up that you can slap onto the weapon. The actual weapon data file is going to reference this key right here in the weapon abilities table, and you'll see that in the video after this one, I believe. Yeah, we're doing base weapon stats next. So, with that said, now we're going to have to do two things. We need to create our new file for the overpower. And right now we can go ahead and just change this because we're going to create the mobile effect here in a second. This will be the name of our mobile effect, super overpower. All right, so if we were to put this on our weapon, the mobile effect wouldn't do anything, and you get an error on the console that says super power overpower doesn't exist. So now we need to find out where this exists. So we can go ahead and go fishing through the script files under the globals, scripts globals, and we're going to go ahead and just close this up to make it look cleaner. Here's our mobile effects, but where oh where in all these folders and files is overpower, because that's what we're going to copy. If we hit Control P and type in overpower, you'll see that we've got a couple listings. Overpower Lua comes up, and it says that it's in the mobile effects weapons overpower. So this is where we want it. We could just open this up now, right? But in the case of creating a new ability, we really need to go to this directory because we're going to have to modify a main file on that, and I'll show you why. So we need to go to mobile effects, weapons, and then we'll find our overpower file. I'll close this and make sure we get it. So we've got our globals, mobile effects, weapons, and then we have overpower right here. Okay. So This is the overpower file. And I'm going to clean that up right there. And I'm going to go ahead and save this now. Save as. And let's go to the beginning of this and we'll put super overpower and hit save. And then we need to change this table key to, you guessed it, super overpower. Okay? And then the next thing we need to do is we'll go through this code in a second. Right now, the game has no idea that this code exists because it has to be loaded up into the globals table, and it's not looking for this file because we just created it and it doesn't know it exists. Every folder you see will have something called a main folder. What this does is right here you see that it's got a list of the locations of each one of these files. And so this right here is just loading up the overpower script. So what we need to do is we can just go ahead and copy the overpower one. And then we'll go ahead and go down to the next line here. We'll put a gizmo edit here. Add in our super overpower ability, our mobile effect. So that we know what this is for, and then we just put, instead of overpower, there's super, that's the name of the file name. And then one thing that I like to do to verify that we got it in is we go to our super power here. And down here, this is a global variable. I'm going to type in print super power is in, baby. Because who doesn't like to see cool things appear? So now let's go to the game. And I could just type in reload globals. And then I'm on our wiki here. And let's look at our dedicated server. And we'll watch it reload here. Sometimes it takes a second. Let's go back to the game here. Once it comes back with the region loaded and stuff like that, we'll get a message here. Sometimes it's doing a backup, I think, right now. I should be doing this in the test center, but you know I'm on the live server. I've been running around and like placing like stealable objects and whatnot in various locations for players to find. There we go. All right, so we got to reload here, but the most important thing is do we have superpower is in, baby? You see how that's firing up? That means that we have reached the globals. We have verified that at least we know this table exists now. And now we can go into describing this table and modifying it. So with the mobile effect, when it first gets applied, in our case, this here is being applied to us, the player, to activate. And so when we first have this mobile effect get put on us, the on enter state fires this function here. We have self, root, target, and args. Okay? So self is the person who this mobile effect was put on, the object, in this case, the player. Okay? And then the target in this case is whoever we're targeting with the mobile effect. And as you can see, if we look down here, self, parent object, send message, execute action, target, what's happening here is that self parent object, okay, parent object is the player, the object that's firing, who has this mobile effect on them is the parent object. And so you can see if we just go through this and look at the logic, what we're doing is it says, first we're going to say that we're going to set up the attack modifier so that we can read it throughout this mobile effect, because you can have more than just an on enter state. You can have an on exit and various other states that you'll learn about. But for now, this is just applying the variable to this mobile effect. And this is going to be equal to the args or the attack modifier of itself. Down here is what happens. This is the value, okay, that you get if we go back to weapons and our mobile effect args is passing an attack modifier, okay? So if I was to remove this, it wouldn't pass any arguments. This would be null. So if this is null, then go ahead and at least use this value, which is something bad happened, so don't do anything pretty much. Make it a regular attack. Okay, so that's pretty much, the explanation of this line. This one right here is just plain an animation, pummel. There's lots of animations. This is just an effect to make the character do something. And then it's going to play a buff effect on top of the player, of the target. And then if it's a male character, it's going to play the male voice. If it's female, then it's going to play the female attack voice. Okay? So this is, adding a little bit of flavor, a little bit of sound, some effects, so you can see something happening, that kind of all makes sense. And then the set combat mod is sending the attack times. And it needs a handle so that you can't stack extra overpowers. So it's just good that you're letting this mod table know that it's got a unique key to give them an attack modifier, which is what's generated up here. So basically, we are going to buff up the attack by 90%. Is what that's saying. And then the very next line is that we have the person who is doing the ability. We're going to execute an attack on the target using our right hand. And I can't remember what this flag is. You can look it up, or we'll find out later. And then when you're done, you remove the combat mod by just setting it to nil. It'll be gone off the table. And then you end this mobile effect so it's gone. And there you go. That's what happens when the Sunder icon you hit, instead of you hitting, it does the overpower. Overpower goes through all these lines, and then you go back to your regular animation. It eats your stamina, and that's pretty much how this ability works, right? So if I wanted to, just for fun, we can show you how to add some more fun things to this. And so what I'm going to do, just for simplicity's sake, is that we're going to go ahead and make a quick table. And we're going to call this flavor text. All right, and inside this, I want to create a couple of strings. Okay, and with some commas. So now we have 3 entries, and I'm going to go ahead and say rar. R, and then rar, right? Because, we're rar, angry. I don't know. Just as an example. Yep, you're right. We're going to make the, let's make another one too. Local ouch table. And then we're going to do ouchie. Let's do another one. Youch. Okay. And then QQ, right? Because they're crying. All right, so we have 3 different messages here. And so when the overpower action happens, I want him to say first before it happens. It'll be microseconds, but so we want to take the self parent object to NPC speech, okay, and then we want to take the flavor text object, the variable there, and since it's a table, we're going to go ahead and do that right there. And then we want to do math.random, and we want to do the size of the flavor text table. So what this is going to do is that it's going to pick a random number on that table and say that, okay? And then what we're going to do is we are going to, let's see, what else can we add to that? Yeah, okay, so if, let's say, math.random, which gives you a number between 0 and 1, is less than 10%, 0.1, then what we're going to do is that we're going to say 10% of the time when you use this weapon, I want you to be able to have the player say this message. All right? And since we're going to use this for the target to say the ouch table, okay, we're just going to copy this real quick. And after we do the execute attack, we're going to have the guy say ouch, right? So again, we'll do the 10% chance. We have, instead of flavor text here, we're going to use ouch table. We'll copy that. Just do a simple paste here and a simple paste here. And I think that right there will cover it. So now we modified this effect. We've seen how it works. We want to make sure that all this code and syntax is right. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save all, and I'm going to start the reload globals process. And then we're going to watch the server here. And if any errors are going to pop up, they'll pop up before the accepting players. Usually right about now you'll see it screaming somewhere that doesn't say gameplay information or scripting information or connecting information. It'll say gameplay error or error. So looks like those effects have went through. So the very next thing that we are going to have to do, now that we are done with our new superpower mobile effect, everything's saved. We have our weapons table. We want to make sure, is it calling super overpower? Is super overpower spelled the same up here? Yes, it is. Everything looks good. So then the last thing that we are going to have to do is we are going to make the weapon stats file for our weapon mace of crushing, and it's going to be this value right here. We're going to call it the mace of crushing, and we can do that now. So you should have this template open, and if not, go ahead and find it. Remember, if you're looking for it, you can hit Control P, and if you've made a new weapon type, just look for that. But I can type in mace of crush, and it'll find it for me, right? But go ahead and load that up again, and we're going to go ahead and change that mace to mace of crushing. And then I'm going to hit file and save. All right, so we're ready for the next video, and we're going to make the base weapon stats, and we're going to just do the equipment stat and not make an equipment class, and you'll see what I mean. So again, right now we're progressing. We're getting pretty close to the end of this series, and you're already starting to get some really good skills under your hands here to really start shaping and making items unique and powerful. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.